Welcome back to Team Angie. Team member Aaron Glenn, private personal consultant. Later on today, we'll be revealing the letter. You guys will be able to check this out. Reason why I started digital marketing, my year journey, my year anniversary, as an addition to Team Angie. What my dreams and goals are, is, and has been. Have I succeeded? Do I have more work to do? All answers to these questions will be revealed later on tonight, the 24th. So stick around for that. But nevertheless, this video is about how to be mindful, not getting wrapped up in certain things. It's an awareness video. We're going to check it out and then we're going to review it. So let me know what you think, and hopefully you enjoy.
Videos go patreon.com/so you can watch my new drops on spot some streets in America. Beneath the sprawling historic city lies dark secrets. Lurking on every corner and alleyway is a darkness. Walk to Philly, you need to look over your shoulder and keep a hand in your pocket, because walking these streets amongst you lurks an evil in the pit of your stomach, pushing you, and nobody is safe. Earlier this year in Philadelphia, when an Scurry was brutally gunned down in the early morning hours as he went for school with his mother, America would mourn a seemingly tragic place at the wrong time. Things went far deeper and than anyone could have possibly. As the days passed, people and as more time went on, people would see the shocking truth that Noah Scurry wasn't just a stray student caught up in the demonic forces that lurk in Philly streets. In fact, the truth was, he was the danger. When it emerged that in reality, Noah Scurry was living a double life, the books and scoring points possible by a different identity, putting on a Joker mask to hide his true identity, and lurking in the streets with thirst for blood and acting for serially over 5 bodies under his belt. The shocking truth was that even the most innocent-looking and well-to-do teenagers in the Philly were outside night commit murders and then going on like nothing had happened. What made this story more strange and shocking is that it impacted residents of Philadelphia at the highest levels of society and fame, because before all of this came out public, Philly rap legend, current podcast superstar Gilly the Kid, aka Gilly the King, host of $1 million worth of game, would tragically lose his own YNG's brutal triple shooting in 2023. The grief-stricken podcaster will show incredible strength and continue pushing a positive message in the years that followed, but the internet would have actually been punished since when it was later revealed that Noah Scurry had likely been responsible for the murder of his son, and would have likely been arrested for it had he not lost his life first. The strange story of the concerned citizens of Philly, a perplexing question: what would drive apparently star student with his whole life ahead of him to get beat in the streets, taking the lives of other promising young men just like him? Well, the truth is much darker than anyone can imagine. So in this video, we take a closer look into the life and death of Noah Scurry, aka ODV, the demonic teenage serial killer who got sucked into the deadly streets of Philly and showed the world that sometimes the most innocent seeming people hold the darkest of secrets.
We have to make a concerted effort to find solutions to the craziness that is plaguing our city.
Say Devin Spady, better known as Young Cheese, was one of 3 people shot in the 5800 block of Masher Street in Thursday night. He uses his platform to speak out against now violence has claimed the life of his son.
What's done is done. The Cheese not coming back.
The search is on for gunmen who opened for the life of a 17-year-old boy.
Parents said he excelled in sports and was well liked.
Deadly gun violence continues to rise in Philadelphia, with more and more young lives cut short. Last night, a 14-year-old boy became the latest killed.
But this was a 14-year-old boy. This is someone's son. This is someone's friend. And anti-violence violence advocates are saying these killings are creating a culture of fear in the city.
You don't say it. You feel they're not being looked out for.
Community remembers a teen gunned down last week of this senseless violence that's plaguing our city.
That was my mommy's baby. That was her girl. He was our little brother. He did not deserve like that.
Victim gunned down by 4 men. The unknown reason opened fire into the playground. Police say shootings and murders are being fueled by Instagram posts between rival group individuals.
Violence continues in Frankfurt, where an 18-year-old was killed. It happened around 5 this evening, 700 block of Oxford Avenue.
Police say the 16-year-old boy was ambushed and shot multiple times as he returned from his job at McDonald's late last night.
They masked men. They were waiting for him to return from work.
You get me did, and you know who did that to him, man. Get shot. Oh, he's a.
Police are looking for up to half a dozen shooters in cases that began yesterday afternoon. There were over 40 shell cases around here. Officers say someone shot 2 people at this scene. One of them did die in critical condition.
This 66-year-old man is dead, and 3 teens are hurt following a shooting last night in Frankfurt.
17-year-old is dead. The apparent target in this. 4 other people were shot. 2 more teens and 2 women.
This is an absolute outrage. It will.
Because at the end of the day, many of these kids are coming from the same communities that were just shooting in.
Today, the U.S. Marshals fugitive released this wanted poster of 17-year-old Asir Boone with a 5,000 award attached. You have a Wednesday morning to turn yourself in.
He even says at one point, I'm wearing this type of clothing, don't cook me.
Police say Tayshawn was riding his bike when a car pulled up and people got out and opening fire. Tayshawn was hit multiple times.
The 17?
Yeah, 17-year-old basketball player that just got shot 17 times.
Yes!
That's who killed my son.
A teenager was shot and killed steps from his home. The 17-year-old was on his way to school. The teenager was with his mother at the time.
Officials are identifying the 17-year-old knight as Noah Scurry, described here at the high school, great student and athlete. At least 20 shots fired in what they believe was an attack.
The student who was killed was exceptional. No problems from him whatsoever, according to the principal and other staff members.
He got videos out where he got a Joker mask on.
A screenshot of the video shows a man in a Joker mask, at times appearing to hold a gun. Sources tell Fine they believe that to be Scurry.
Said you was gonna slide, you ain't slide yet.
Right.
Now slid.
The city of Philadelphia has a long and dark history of violence, and in many cases this brand of brutality comes courtesy of the city's many historic gangs. Whether with the Italian mafia of the old days or the modern street gangs, Philly's been a treacherous place from the very start. The reason for the city's cut mentality is its crushing poverty, as Philly has for a long time been the poorest big city in America. This poverty particularly affects Philly's black and Latino communities, whose poverty rates are about double the white residents, despite them making up a clear majority of the population. This is also reflected in the city's significant residential segregation, the poor black communities of Philly being amongst the most segregated in the entire of America, with only Chicago having an even higher rate when it comes to America's big cities. And of course, when there's such significant pockets of poverty, serious crime will usually follow, with gun violence in Philly being heavily concentrated amongst the poorest communities. Growing up in these active war zones can leave the youth there scarred with deep and long-lasting mental health issues. Some may turn to desperate measures to surroundings, while others end up getting sucked into themselves and surviving a kill or be killed environment. This leads to some youths getting consumed by the idea of revenge, while others may even get addicted to the violence itself and actually find pleasure and release in participating in the killing. This is the environment where Noah Scurry was born on May 2007, his birth eerily coinciding with the filming of the movie The Dark Knight, the second installment of director Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, which would introduce the late actor Heath Ledger's critically acclaimed performance This new, much more twisted rendition of the would later become Noah's alter ego in the streets of Philly. Not much is known about Noah's early life, but based on what we do know, he appeared to have a relatively happy childhood. Noah's loving parents, Megan and Ron, did their best to provide for their young son. They would work hard and fed and well clothed as a child. Always dripping in the latest Ralph Lauren, Noah was a stylish kid whose parents clearly cared for him and wanted the best for him, and his parents would do their best to keep Noah busy and focused on positive hobbies, as he would seemingly practice many different sports, from to baseball and basketball, where he would eventually excel the most, becoming his high school team's top scorer. His parents would also make sure that Noah's intellectual side was equally stated, as he would show this in school as well, becoming an honor roll student would score the highest result in his school's SAT. More impressive when you consider the fact his high school, the Samuel Fells, is among the worst performing schools in Pennsylvania. Interesting aspect was having many demonic gangsters who seemingly came from violent upbringings that thrust them into the violence before they really knew better. Noah apparently had a lot of love and support and was nurtured to excel at life. However, Noah was also clearly influenced by street culture since a young age, and while there are no signs that his family was in any way affiliated with gangs, he can often be seen throwing up what seem like gang signs in his early childhood pictures. Time was simply imitating saw other people doing, or if he was actually already affiliated with gangs. But there were numerous street gangs operating in the area that Noah lived after his death, and eventually he would allegedly become affiliated with a gang called the Wickers from the Lawncrest City, who go by the name Pavement Boys, or PB, and are repped by rappers like No Pix and Rel Sosa. Noah was also extremely close with gangs from the Frankfurt section of the city, particularly Oxiders or Double C. The biggest rivals of these gangs will be called M24 and their younger generation called Fast Break, who hail primarily from the Olney section of the city. The Fast Break have become well known in Philly drill culture recently after their members allegedly killed Philly's most well-known drill ABC Bill or 20. His killers allegedly being as young as 14 years old, with Zakeem Blake, who had gone missing from his parents a year earlier, and 16-year-old Aiden Waters, who was also a former talented track and field runner, although he never featured on the cover of the ESPN magazine, as some pages falsely report, based on a custom cover likely made by his parents. Nor was he the national 1500 meters in 2015, although he did come up third place. With all this just going to show you that being a promising athlete isn't quite enough to stop a young man being sucked into the violent life of the Philly streets. But anyway, growing up in an active war zone, Noah Scurry would be gun violence growing up. In 2016, when Noah was only 9 years old, his cousin would be gunned down in Fairnet, located only about 3 from Noah's home, where he would ultimately end up losing his life.
The search is on gunmen who opened fire in the life of a 17-year-old boy.
Are building businesses while the only AI you know is ChatGPT. Let's be most people.
The triple shooting, which happened right across from a plague, so sent 2 other people to the hospital with critical injuries.
Video captured the victims hanging outside of this corner store. It actually happened at this alley, which does border Sterling Street. 17-year-old Quantico Brunson Moten was 2 other young men remain in critical condition.
Surveillance video shows Quantico Brunson and Moten, the 2 victims, and 2 stand at the store last night. A white car pulled up and a man dressed all in black got out and walked down Hawthorne. A little while later, they followed in that direction. Police say it was here in this nearby alley that shots were fired. 17-year-old Quantico was shot in the torso, as was a 16-year-old victim. Back in the surveillance video, you can see the man run battling white car outside the corner store. Quantico was killed. Today, his father washed away the blood left at the scene.
We kept our son close, and we kept his first close. They called his mama all day.
The store owner and friends identified this young man as Quantico. This is video of him inside the corner store just before the shooting that would claim his life. His parents said he excelled in sports and was well liked.
He was silly all the time.
Things would begin to ramp up around 2020 as the COVID pandemic would bring a spree of violence all over America, including here, where the already high rate would spike to the level of the 90s when the crack epidemic was intensifying the gang wars. In December 2020, Noah's good friend, 14-year-old Tahmir Timms, also known as Tartar, was gunned down in Olney, less than 2 miles away from Noah's home.
Well, deadly gun violence continues to rise in Philadelphia with more and more young lives cut short. Last night, a 4-year-old boy became the latest child killed. Action News reporter Jacqueline Lee is live in the section of the city tonight with more on the investigation into this deadly incident and the devastating statistics. Jacqueline.
Ulrich, you know, there were so many shootings, it's easy to forget to see the humanity in it, but this was a 14-year-old boy. This is someone's son, this is someone's friend, and anti-violence advocates are saying these killings are creating a culture of fear in the city. Family members described 14-year-old Tamir Timms as the life of the party, a star basketball and football player.
He's an outgoing, fun kid, like the crack jokes. Just a regular kid, a regular 14 in his life. My son didn't deserve this.
That's family members are puzzled as to why he was shot in the chest in the 5900 block of North Masher Street Thursday night. He later died at Albert Einstein Medical Center.
I see it every day. Never really until it happened. Hey, cried on. I ain't been asleep really yet.
His brother says Timms was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I don't feel real.
Sadly, many families are facing this reality. The 6 ABC data journalism team found that shootings involving children are up 70 here in Philadelphia.
Like Noah, Tamer was a very talented basketball player who was also known by the nickname 32, and following his passing, Noah's on his social media how Noah changed his jersey number to 32 in Tamer's honor. Prominent always play in his memory, but shockingly, Noah's father, Ron Scott, would make a post revealing Noah lost 5 friends in less than a year, showing just how out of control the gun violence in Philly had gotten at this point, and it was probably affecting Noah. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be. Only a few months later, he was yet another friend, with his father posting how his son had lost 6 friends to violence, and saying that he can see the hurt in his son's eyes. 16-year-old Kari Simmons, also known as Car or Ree, would be killed in a senseless triple shooting at a rec center in Philadelphia that would leave 2 15-year-olds injured.
Now, community remembers a teen down last week, and Davis of this senseless violence that's plaguing our city.
Jason, a big turnout tonight at the Christie Recreation Center at 50th Christian as an entire community came out to mourn Kari Simmons and to hopefully start the healing process. Hundreds of balloons were released over this West Philly Rec Center Tuesday evening to remember 16-year-old Kari Simmons, who was gunned down last week on this very same basketball court.
He was just here doing what all of us do: share wood, play baseball, and just be kids.
Kari's senseless murder touched off calls for a wide action plan after the death of yet another young man with so much promise.
We love Kari more than anything. That was my mommy's baby. That was her world, our little brother.
He did not deserve to die like that.
Police and Kari's family say he was an innocent victim by 4 men who, for some unknown reason, opened fire into the playground.
Following Kari's murder, local news would report how the police were warning that the violence was being fueled by social media, where gangs were going back and forth dissing each other.
After over 100 murders already this year, investigators are focusing on ways to prevent more violence, including monitoring Instagram, where police say shootings and murders are being fueled by hot-tempered Instagram posts between rival groups or individuals. Social media beefs turn violent.
Now, we just have the ability to use Instagram and go back and forth in real time, and it's something that we're very concerned about.
Commissioner Daniel Outlaw says social media is fueling a lot of these conflicts, and they're now having detectives monitor those conversations.
Life has turned into one big reality TV show. You don't have to be a celebrity or with a following or with cameras in order to advertise your life or, document every moment of what we're saying and what we're doing.
Advocates and officials say parents can play a role in monitoring their teens' social media usage. Instagram shared tips for parents in a new guide released today. Pastor Carl Day speaking to teens can spark change.
A lot of times I think that we don't think about how polarizing social media is.
Instagram's restrict mode allows you to keep an eye on a potential bully. They can't tell they've been restricted, and posted comments aren't visible to anyone else but the person who wrote it.
Back to whatever our day may have been, if you had a problem with somebody, it was just between you, them, and probably the few people that knew. Now you got 6,000 followers, so in everybody's mind, 6,000 people see you trying to play me. So now this is the way we have to handle things.
Noah was also familiar with the other side, as his weren't only dying in the gang war, but also alleged killing. Only a few weeks after the murder of Kari, 18-year-old Justin, also known as Jay or 5, would be gunned down in the Frankfurt neighborhood.
The violence continues in Frankfurt, where an 18-year-old was shot and killed. It happened around 5 this evening on the 40th block of Oxford Avenue. No one has been arrested in this shooting either.
Justin was allegedly affiliated with the M24 gang, and following his death, a popular rapper called Brady, who's affiliated with the Certified Clappers and Parkside, would drop a diss song called 5 on it, which references the classic Got 5 on It by Loons, whilst also using that phrase to diss 5. This was followed by another Double C rapper called Hardy, dropping a song titled Red Rum, with 5 more directly saying he died because he didn't have a gun and that they sped off on the police after the murder. Another popular rapper from the M24, Lil Muck, can be seen wearing a custom tribute shirt to 5 on his social media, and would release a response to the diss song called On 5, which is both a tribute song to 5 and a diss towards Parkside and the Certified Clappers. In Muck's Instagram promo for the song's music video, other M24s could be seen Parkside, while Parkside members would seemingly taunt Muck about 5's death. One YouTuber would even claim that 5 was killed by a specific person, a rapper from Parkside called Qua4, who is in fact a good friend of Noah Scurry's father, posting a picture of the two together. The murder of 5, aka Justin Porter, would remain unsolved. Unfortunately, the killing in Philly would only get worse during 2021, reaching an all-time high. In October, 16-year-old Arjon Jackson, also known as AJ or A-Roy, would be brutally killed near his home after he had just worked shift at McDonald's, with his sister being taken home in a lift.
We begin with a call to action after another teenager is shot and killed on the streets of Philadelphia. I'm Yuki Washington.
Jessica Cartalia, 16-year-old Jackson was shot outside of East Oak Lane home when police say he was ambushed. He and his twin sister had just finished their shift at McDonald's. Jasmine Payute is live at police headquarters with how gun violence is affecting prisoners trying to keep them safe.
Yuki, just good evening. It goes out saying there's a gun violence crisis in Philadelphia.
Once again, the Parkside rappers would diss the dead mercilessly, this time borrowing a chapter from YBC Dull's playbook, who had made a name for himself by dissing his enemy, who was also
Fanatics game day guarantee in a bathtub.
Killed after finishing his shift working. In the video for Hardy's song Red Rum, his friends can be seen tossing out French fries, something that YBC Dull had also done. And in his song On Hound, Hardy would rap how M24 hadn't got someone who died whilst eating fries, before mentioning how they were leading by 2-0, an apparent reference to the murders of both 5 and AJ. Film himself in court, confronting an M24 member and dissing AJ to their face.
Me and my man B, your man did it. And you know who did that to your man. Shut up. Shut the up. He's a well, I see the back is right now on live. You're not trying to lock in. Come on, let's lock in. Let's lock in. I'm about to be in here for an hour. We can lock in real quick. Use a ball. And AJ did it. Watch out, bro. I just see me smack that. Y'all just see me.
Coming into 2022, the murder rate would fortunately begin declining, but that would be a small consolation to the people living in the city's war zones, where murders would continue to happen at a steady rate. And in August, it was time for Noah Scurry to experience yet another loss, as his friend, 18-year-old husband, would be killed during a particularly violent night in Philly.
Just this morning, Philadelphia police are looking for up to half a dozen shooters in cases that began yesterday afternoon, carried through in the overnight hours, and there has been change just a few hours ago. This video, this is from a deadly shooting on Bouvier Street. There were over 40 shell casings on the ground here. Officers say someone shot 2 people at this scene. One of them did die. The other is sitting critical condition this morning. And then in broad daylight yesterday around 5 o'clock, right near this Dunkin' Donuts on Girard Avenue, 3 men were shot. One is a 6-year-old whose sister says he was driving by the scene in his pickup truck when the shooting went through the windshield into his arm.
Fasir was known as an outgoing person with a real big heart who did anything for the ones that he loved. But allegedly, he was also known as a fierce shooter in the streets who went by the menacing nickname Bad News. By this point, Noah Scurry had as many as 7 close friends to the streets, and as his father said, he could see the pain and suffering in his son from these losses. Perhaps unsurprisingly then, from here, Noah would begin to undergo a dark transformation, vowing to get revenge for his friends and beginning his own plots to wage war on the streets and cause up the very same devastation that he had endured. And it would be soon after this that he would take on his terrifying alter ego, becoming the Joker. A black cloud lingered over Philadelphia, casting a dark shadow on the kids living there. Kids with lives, dreams, and their whole futures ahead of them, cut and go to school, not knowing it'd be their last day, and witnessing so many of your friends lose their young life ever even started, and even the cleanest of hearts cold. These murders ignited something dark in the minds of the youth of Philly. Kids, not even old enough to buy a beer, would be going through unbearable pain. What could their parents possibly even understand of what these kids were going through? Kids push limits, fragile minds that hadn't even developed yet, undergoing trauma, only comparable to shell-shocked soldiers fresh out of a war zone. Surprised then that this sort of grief ended up consuming the youngsters, like Noah Scurry, who in the name of survival or revenge felt the need to transform into something, a new identity that would give them back control and save them from the danger by becoming the danger themselves. This is how the Joker persona was born. 2023 would end up being a pivotal year for Noah Scurry. In May, he would visit Girard College, would provide preparatory courses, likely meaning that Noah and his family were preparing for the next step on his educational journey, aiming to get him a scholarship to a university. However, later that month, there would be yet another mass shooting in the section, which would end up killing a 66-year-old man.
Police say someone shot 3 people on Mulberry Street in France. This happened late Sunday night. They went to the hospital and are expected to be okay. Police also found a 66-year-old man dead at the scene. He had been shot in the head.
As the local would later report, one of these teenagers would allegedly turn out to be Noah Scurry himself. 2 days later, it would be Noah's 16th birthday, and his father would post a heartfelt message to him, where he wouldn't mention anything out of the ordinary, but he would allude to something dramatic just having taken place, mentioning how many adversities his son had faced. It's possible that this shooting that injured him personally was the final straw that broke Noah, because only a few months later, he allegedly commit, perhaps, his first murder. On the 20th of July, 25-year-old Devin Spady was hanging out with his friends on the 5th block of Masher Street, Olney section of Philadelphia. Spady was better known in the streets of Philly by his rapper name, Young Cheese, or YNG Cheese, making up one half of the duo, Mac and Cheese, with his brother Trey Mac. The duo had achieved a minor buzz in the Philly rap scene, was further boosted that they were both sons of the podcast Gillie the King, formerly known as Philly rap legend Gillie the Kid, now famous for running the highly popular podcast $1 Million Worth of Game, together with his cousin Wallow. But on this tragic night, Cheese and some friends was down the corner of West Nedrow Avenue, North Masher Street, just before 8:30 p.m, when they would suddenly hear gunshots and begin running from the scene. Unfortunately, Cheese would be hit in the back, causing him to collapse on the street. He was later pronounced dead at the Einstein Medical Center, while 2 other victims also suffered gunshot wounds but survived.
This happened last night, just about 8:30, in the section of the corner of Masher and Nedrow Street, I should say. Just before 8:30, several calls came in. Police arrived and 2 victims about a block away from gunshot wounds. Investigators tell us a 25-year-old man was shot in the back, rushed to Einstein Hospital. He was later pronounced the second. A 28-year-old man found shot in the leg, as well as a 31-year-old man also shot in the middle. So 3 men, 3 victims, and this is what Dr. Scott Small had to say.
Now we know the shooting took place at Masher and Nedrow. That's where we found 10 spent shell casings. So we know 10 shots were fired from the automatic weapon. And that's where all 3 of these victims were struck.
Police say Devin Spady, better known as Young Cheese, was one of 3 people shot in the 5800 block of Masher Street in Olney Thursday night. Shot in the back, the 25-year-old rapper was a rising star and the son of one of Philadelphia's biggest stars, Gillie the King.
He platform to speak out against violence, and now violence has claimed the life of his son.
For him to be a victim to the same violence that he's advocating, that's just heartbreaking.
Gillie the King is a rapper turned podcaster, and podcast partner Wallow also helped give away dollars to support local businesses, and both were awarded the key to the city.
Gillie and Wallow had
the unofficial of the city of Philadelphia. How about that? Right? They are the voice of the youth.
Soon after, the news about Cheese's passing would reach the people close to him, and Wallow would post a heartfelt message to Cheese's father Gilly on Instagram, telling him how he was to look after Gilly on behalf of us. Later, on an episode of $1 Million Worth of Game, Wallow would actually open up about having to personally tell Gilly the tragic news of his son's passing.
So one of the things I ever had to do was tell Kel, Cheese ain't gonna be here no more. I said, Cheese got shot? No. Gil knocked on the door, like, yo, man, his head was down, like, man, Cheese got, I said, what? I tell him what happened. He said, no, I'm gonna check into it right now, see what's going on, boom, boom, boom. You know, once I hang up, on me back and say, don't put Gil on the phone no more. I said, all right, so we driving. He tell me the phone, he like, that man. Oh, I said, damn. So I put my face down and I go walk out of the hospital because we in an emergency. Gil see me. I said, damn. Because I'm like, I'm going to leave and tell him in the hospital. Because so I walk out, Gil come out. And he like, cuz, what's up, cuz? What's going on? He put my head down. It's the worst thing I ever told anybody. And I was like, man, Cheese, go on. And I knew that. So it was like, in some type of way, I felt up because it was like, I had to tell him the word of it. So I felt some type of way, like it wasn't that I was responsible, but the fact that I told him that's the worst ever. So when I told him, I had to walk away, and he was talking to me, telling me, so Gil just walked away, he was just up. And so I was so hurt because it was like, damn, man, I told him the worst in the world. And I did it there today to try to make a better situation, but it was like, Cheese wasn't coming back. And it was like, I had to stay away from it. Was his cuz for a while. So I would keep my distance and be like, it's up, cuz. I appreciate you for that too.
With Gilly later opening up about the experience on the Pivot podcast, talking about the pain he went through and the need to stay strong for his family.
You know, going through all that I've went through in my life, bro, that make you forward tough. That really make you forward tough. So, you know, what's done is done. And like you said, she's not back. That's the one thing that's a fact. So, for me to wake up every day and allow my family to see me in an emotional state where I'm not strong.
Dying like the beast, pre-order now.
They forcing the other one. You gonna watch this, man?
I'm only really weak around my woman and my friends. You know what I mean? Other than that, I gotta stay strong for my kids, man.
The local news would cover Cheese's funeral held less than a week after his death, and like the need to stop plaguing the city of Philadelphia, and mentioning also how at this point there were no suspects in the case.
Gilly DeKing laying his oldest son, Devin Spady, to rest. On Monday, Spady, who wrapped under the young, was killed in a shooting at the corner of Masher and Nedro last Thursday night. Family friends say the loss hurts even more, knowing he had long pushed people to choose a different path.
He always promoted a positive image and always talked about guns down. So it's ultimately that his son had to meet his demise this way.
Imam Tahir Wyatt made a point to address gun violence in his speech. He called on people at Monday's service to think before they act and to help those in need.
All of us know somebody. All of us know people who are this far away. Revenge from an endless cycle. To be the ones to step up and be courageous.
Many friends we spoke with believe to gun violence will motivate Gil even more to stay active in his fight. But they also know he can't do it alone and say the community has to step up and take action.
We have to stop. We have to make an effort to come together to find solutions to the crazy that is plaguing our city.
Gilly King did not speak publicly at today's service. Philadelphia police say so far no arrests have been made in Spady's death and that this is an ongoing investigation.
Unfortunately though, not everyone was so thoughtful regarding this tragic news. One of hip-hop's most controversial and offensive figures, Charleston White, would use Death of Cheese to clap back Lee, who had previously labelled him as a snitch, posting some trial and demonic messages where he would mess grief and even accuse him of getting his son killed as a surprise to the Illuminati.
Hey son, you talking about snitching. Oh, goddamn it, young Gilly been shot. I remember how you and Wallow were crying. You and Wallow were crying. Oh, my son. Oh, my son. I killed crying. Now, you talking about snitching. Yeah, right, I'm a law-abiding citizen. That's why your son unalive. Ain't nobody ain't been no get back. Dude, get your boy still living, and coming, farting, sneezing, coughing, and going to bed and waking up living life. And you still in agony. Unless you made the sacrifice. Unless you did the sacrifice. You hear me? Unless you the one put the hit on your son so you and Wallow can get that $100 million. I ain't sacrificing my boy for you. I don't want that much money, no way. I don't want that much goddamn money. No way, Gilly and Wallow. We gotta kill nephew and son. I don't know who idea was it for you to sacrifice your son. You should have sacrificed the and kept the boy. And kept the boy. You should sacrifice the and kept your son, but because you want to be in the Illuminati.
Some months later, in October 2023, Noah would make one of his first appearances under his Joker alter ego in the music video for his Soir 4, a song called Fallen Angels. A song dedicated to all of their friends in the Philly gang wars. Noah would be and holding up a gun, surrounded by other strap-toting Philly gangsters. But when Noah wasn't allegedly running around killing people in his Joker mask, he'll be keeping up appearances in school, where his basketball team would tell the fans that he was a player to watch out for and that he was going to have a big junior season. Though only a few months later, Noah would allegedly strike again streets on the 4th of March. Around 5 p.m., 17-year-old Damon Taylor, also known as Fat, had just gotten out of school day at Imhotep Charter High School. He was waiting to get on a bus with about 15 other students at the intersection of Ogontz and Godfrey Avenues when two assailants would walk, including 3 students, would stand at the bus stop along with 2 sitting inside. However, despite the high number of casualties, the attack appeared to be targeted towards Damon, who would be hit the worst. This was a gruesome hit and his injuries would be brutal to say the least. A video would later be posted online showing panicked students at the scene, with one girl being heard saying, "His face is gone," when referring to Damon. Damon was taken to Einstein, where he would unfortunately pass away from his injuries.
Good evening. It's Monday night. We begin with breaking news here this afternoon on board a SEPTA bus. 4 o'clock today, that bus company was stopped right there, 16 in Lenkiln and Ogontz. Just minutes ago, Philadelphia police gave us an update, revealing that a 17-year-old is dead, the apparent target in this, and 4 other people were shot. 2 more teens and 2 women, 50 and 70 years old. A live look at that scene right now. Those 2 women were sitting on the bus at the time. Action News reporter Katie Cacho live there where it all ended this afternoon here.
That's exactly right. Where I'm standing is where police say around 15 to 20 people were waiting for that SEPTA bus when those shots. I'm going to step at a shot here so you can see what's behind me. As you can see, police had marked multiple spots. They did find multiple shell casings. Now, there are multiple scenes to this. Show you what another scene looks like here in the 6,000 block of You can see that SEPTA bus, multiple bullet shots through those windows. Now, there are multiple victims here, and I do want to show you a list of all of the victims. Police say a 17-year-old was killed. 17-year-old's a graze wound to the shoulder. A 50-year-old was on the SEPTA bus. She was shot in the arm. A 6-year-old woman was on the bus. She was shot in the head. Police say both of those women were bystanders. Police also say a 15-year-old suffered a graze wound at this time.
Infamous District Attorney Larry Clark would later be moved to tears discussing the incident during a thing, promising that everyone involved would be arrested and prosecuted.
Juvenile who is now lost his life. We have a 70-year-old woman. Excuse me. We have a 70-year-old woman with a grocery cart who is struck in the head with a bullet. Absolute outrage. It will be solved. Those responsible will be vigorously.
Despite Krasner's promises, this murder remains unsolved today, but meanwhile, people close to Damon simply had their suspicions. Damon, aka Fat Dame, was allegedly associated with the Fast Break gang, who were known to beef with Noah's Whackers gang, aka the Pavement Boys, and only 2 days after Fat Dame's murder, there would be another mass shooting, this time at a bus stop located near the northeast side, which on the other hand is located miles away from Noah's Samuel Fells High School and partly serviced by the same bus lines. At around 3 p.m, students were waiting to get on a bus near the intersection of Rising Sun and Coltman Avenues. Past assailants who had been waiting near the blue Hyundai Sonata and opened fire, hitting and wounding one of them critically, while a fourth suspect, a getaway driver, would wait in the car.
Tonight, Philadelphia police are urging the public take a closer look at this shocking surveillance video. Investigators say it shows the chilling moment 3 armed suspects exit a stolen, run up to a busy bus stop frequented by high school students, and indiscriminately fire more than 30 shots into the crowd. 8 teens between the ages of 15 and 17, one of those teens now fighting life.
These are individuals shooting at a crowd of kids. That's really concerning. So we need people to see that.
This shooting, the fourth involving the city's transit system, and the second minors week alone.
We're going to target every criminal code on the books.
But for the family and friends of 17-year-old Damien, too little too late. The teen was shot and killed on Monday as he was the bus, so wounded. As the investigation continues, authorities are urging parents to get involved before another young life is claimed by gun violence.
Go in those rooms and look under the tables and look under those closets and get those guns out of the house. Because at the end of the day, many of these kids are coming from the same communities that they're shooting in, right? And they know who they are.
Unlike the shooting that took the life of Fat Dame, this one would unravel almost immediately, and less than the police would arrest 2-year-olds Jamal Tucker and Arias in connection to the shooting.
This is video from the moment 18-year-old Anili Buggs was taken into custody by U.S. Marshals Saturday. The day before, police say 18-year-old Jamal Tucker turned himself in. Philadelphia police, the mayor and leaders met today to announce their arrests. Both are now charged with the shooting that injured 8 Northeast High School students who were waiting for the bus last week. 7 boys and 1 girl between the ages of 18 and 17 were hit.
To our young people who were impacted, know that we're making progress. We will not tolerate this type of violence on our streets.
After recovering the stolen getaway car seen here in surveillance video, was also taken into custody with that matched shell casings found at the scene. Police say the gun was a fully loaded and fully automatic pistol with a laser.
Young people who are trying to put it together, they deserve better, and they deserve to know that the city of Philadelphia taking seriously what occurred.
At the news conference today, Mayor Sherrell Parker speaking on the bloodshed of the youth and the plans in the near future to implement.
I said no, Nigel. Not without the brick.
A public safety plan for moving forward. It's an all hands on As authorities continue to look for 2 more suspects.
The local news will also report, based on the court records, but investigating the shooting's connection to the one that killed Fat Dame. This paperwork also revealing just how sloppy these youngsters had been, not only during the shooting, where they seemingly aimed eyes closed into innocent kids, also during the getaway.
The NBC 10 investigators obtained court documents that detail how narrowed in on Tucker and Bugs. The documents explain how the same slim blue car used in the looting was found later that evening on the 400 block of Fern Street in Olney. Detect surveillance from that immediate area, and according to the found. Court records show that investigators determined that cell phones associated with Bugs traveled to Sunrise Avenue shooting location and the 400 block of Fern Street where the souls were recovered. Don't say for certain if Wednesday was a retaliation for Monday's interceptor shooting. That one resulted in a 17-year-old killer's injured. But the affidavit charging Bugs details a prison phone call Bugs received the day shooting from his uncle, Taz McMillan. It says the inmate asked other male on the line, quote, "I heard about you, you good?" And the younger male states, "Nah," with McMillan responding, "Yeah, it's never easy to digest," end quote. The document goes on to say that based on the context of this phone call, it is believed that the 2 individuals on this call are discussing the homicide 6200 Ogontz Avenue. That homicide occurred on March 4th. Bugs and Tucker were arraigned Sunday morning.
Arnell Bugs would also be charged with a February 24 murder of a 12-year-old named Christopher Dowling, also known in the streets as Chris, together with 2 others, Aidan Waters, the Fast Break member first arrested in relation to the murder of YBC Dull, as well as a man named Ryan Purcell, better known in Philly as the Fast Break affiliated rapper LR or Lil Ryan. The following day, a 3rd suspect was arrested, 9-year-old Jermard Carter, also known by the name of Mardo, and also allegedly affiliated with the Fast Break gang.
Well, here we are on one of the main roads through Philadelphia at one of the main intersections. Academy just about 5 doors off of Woodhaven Road, and there's 2 apartment row house here, and there you see it, 12024 code. This is where Jermard Carter's father lives, and he said he entered the door to machine guns after 4 o'clock as police came looking for their sources. Tell me the whole family was out in the backyard enjoying a nice day at the time, and so when they were knocking at the door, no one was answering it first, and the father did answer the door. Here is video now of Jermard Carter being taken into custody by marshals and task force that includes a whole lot of police detectives who've been looking for him for nearly a week since the Wednesday shooting. So this makes 3 of the 4 they wanted. You remember 3 shooters and a 4th driver. They wanted to get all 4. So the father told me Jermard Carter just turned 18. Authorities who took him into custody say he is 19 with a birth date listed for this October 1st, born in 04, which would make him nearly 20 years old come October. Here is what his father had told me earlier after the arrest. What can you tell me happened with your son?
I don't know. At the store and
You came to the door and they gave him a face? What did they tell you?
They just brought me outside.
The 4th suspect, 17-year-old Asir Boone, would also be identified after he failed to turn himself in. The Philly $1,000
armed, dangerous, and all U.S. Marshals, and the name of the 4th and final suspect in last week's SEPTA bus stop shooting.
3 suspects are now in custody, and tonight U.S. Marshals for the final suspect
is now an all-out search for Asir Boone. Afternoon, the U.S. Marshal Service released this photo of the 17-year-old. They say he frequents Olney, but his last known address is in Germantown. Agents are also offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to his capture. If you come across Boone, do not approach him because he is considered armed and dangerous.
And about a week later, he would also be found hiding in the city of Alexandria, Virginia, near Washington, D.C.
20 minutes nonstop news begins with breaking news. Another suspect captured. There are new pictures of the U.S. Marshals taking that suspect into custody. He's the 4th teenager arrested for the shooting. that 8 students at a SEPTA bus stop.
Authority, the U.S. Marshals, they say that they gave this teen's family multiple days in advance to give himself, to turn himself in. And when that didn't happen and they missed the deadline, authorities say they amped up the pressure. That ultimately led to this arrest today. The boy's name is Asir, 17 years old. The U.S. Marshals took these pictures of his arrest today in Alexandria, Virginia. There was a warrant out for him that included attempted murder. Boone is the 4th and final suspect wanted in connection to the March 6th shooting of 80 students. Police say were waiting for the bus at Cotman and Rising Sun Avenue.
The police weren't done. They would also arrest a 5th suspect, 15-year-old Jeremiah Jefferson, who they claimed helped the 4 main assailants carry out the mass shooting.
Police made a 5th arrest in a mass shooting at a station that injured 8 Northeast high school students in Burholm. Police say the 15-year-old suspect helped point out the victims to the gunman. Meanwhile, authorities say the suspects may be to even more crimes in the city.
Communication went back and forth. He even said, as a point, this type of clothing, don't cook me. And then at the point where they were leaving the Dunkin' Donuts to walk to the bus stop, he types the word go.
Out of the 5 suspects, 18-year-old in the streets as Mally from the Fast Break gang had been the first to turn himself in, which would immediately prompt accusations that he was snitching, and he would eventually become the first person to accept a plea deal with prosecutors, prompting even more rumors that he was indeed cooperating with the police against his Fast Break buddies.
Suspects in a shooting that injured 8 students at a bus stop in Northeast Philadelphia earlier this year has pleaded guilty. Jamal Tucker pled guilty to several charges yesterday, including charging you might remember happened back in March. 8 students from Northeast High School were shot at the intersection of Cotman and Rising Sun Avenues. A judge sentenced Tucker in October.
But meanwhile, already a few months after the shooting that killed Fat Dame, there would be yet another victim whose murder has been to Noah in many onliners. In May, a 16-year-old, Tayshawn Williams, also known as Tay, was gunned down by 3 masked assailants who pulled up on him in a car when he was riding his bike near his home in the West Poplar neighborhood.
Mother is pleading for the public's help finding her 18-year-old son's killer. It was last May when someone shot and killed Tayshawn Williams in West Poplar neighborhood. Rick Williams has details in tonight's Crime Fighters report.
Tyra Williams needs a lung transplant. Relied on her 16-year-old son Tayshawn for his support and help around the house.
The store, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You know, he was such a
25th, Tyra sent Tayshawn on an airport.
I sent him to the store for me to get some water, and he came back.
That night, he said he was going out.
He left out, it was like 8-something. He went in the corner to go where he usually be at, around the corner with his friends. Next thing you know, I get a call.
At 8 p.m., police were called reports of a person with a gun along the 1200 block of Fairmount Avenue in Philadelphia's West neighborhood. Police say Tayshawn was riding his bike when a car pulled up and 3 masked people at the hospital where he died a few.
The area where Tay lived is known for the Richard Allen Homes, a public housing project. The gang hailing from the area also in RA, while there's also numerous smaller sets in this area that go by names like 103, YSF, or Gunner Gang. RA has been known to have a beef with a gang called Zoo Gang, whose members also rep a set known as Omerta that hail from the Strawberry Man section. Omerta and Zoo members have been hit with several federal indictments in recent years regarding numerous major robberies and other crimes, including a heist where the assailants stole hundreds of thousands of dimes and trailers.
Thousands of dimes scattered and shimmering like Philadelphia Mills Mall. They spilled out of a parked trailer when thieves broke in.
They were trying to cross-load the dimes into other things to carry it away. There's dimes all over the parking lot.
The cargo, $750,000 worth of dimes, loaded up at the Philadelphia Mint yesterday. Police say the truck driver parked here overnight, went home and got some sleep before a long day of driving to Florida. But when he returned in the morning, he found someone had broken into the trailer using bolt cutters and stolen hundreds of thousands of dimes.
These indictments have broken down how the Omerta and Zoo gangs work together to commit these crimes, but also mentioning that these gangs had connections with other gangs in Philadelphia, with one in Noah's gang, the Walkers, aka Pavement Boys, as Noah would eventually drop a song under his Joker alias, together with another rapper called Drench Season, who's allegedly affiliated Zoom. Because of this connection between Noah's gang and because of Tay's apparent connection to Fast Break affiliated members like Fat Dame, Noah has been connected to the murder of Tay in many online rumors, although others have denied this, and there's seemingly very little actual evidence in regards to Noah's supposed victims. There have been many bodies that have tried to put on him with little to no evidence, such as 2 other teens that would be killed already in the following month of June.
Unsubstantiated sources, he is linked to the death of Izzy Stanley and the 18-year-old Tin Melly, who both died in June of 2024, a week apart. Now, I'm not trying to go around putting murders on people, so please take all of this with a grain of salt.
However, at least in the case of Izzy Stanley, a 17-year-old girl who was killed when a shootout started at a party in Fairmount, past has seemingly been made, but there's still seemingly nothing tying Noah to this, and in the music video for Qua 4's song Drill After Drill, but this time he would appear without his Joker mask, simply wearing a black COVID mask to hide identity, all while toting a gun, flexing big stacks of cash. Interestingly, around the time of the video's release, Father would also post several photos to his social media that showed Noah throwing up gang signs. By this point, Noah was truly living a double life, allegedly masking up and killing people by night, but continuing to excel in school and sports by day. On December 2024, Noah was selected as his high school team's best player in their game against her at this time, clearly delivering good results on the court for his team. But when Noah's high school was playing against one of their main rivals, the Imhotep Charter High School, was reportedly not participating, which would explain why his team would take a major loss. Moreover, only friends and family were allowed to attend the game, which was rumoured to have been the result of a rough encounter between these two teams at an earlier summer league game, where players from the Imhotep team had attempted to attack due to knowing about his involvement in the murder of Fat Dame, who had been a very part of the reason could have also been the fact that before this game, Noah had posted one of the first snippets to his Instagram. A song included several disses towards Fat Dame, like Noah referencing the infamous video of the aftermath of the murder, where a girl can be saying how his face is gone. He would also make reference to the murder of Chris, aka Christopher Dowling, killed by Fast Break members, saying how his ops can't talk about Chris without mentioning how Fat Dame's soul left his body. Then, on the 13th of January, Noah would release his first full song and music video under his rap alias Joker OTV, the chilling song Swing My Door. The music video starts with the rapper Drench Season opening a fridge full of guns and handing one to Noah whilst wearing his infamous Joker mask. The duo, together with other masked teens, would then display the and guns equipped with switches to make them fire automatically. Drench Season then starts the song with lyrics that paint a picture of the dark world that these youngsters are inhabiting, saying how he's thirsty to swing that door, referring to the act of quickly opening a car door when spotting an enemy in order to run up and kill them from close distance, before saying that he already has 4 Bs, or bodies up, suggesting that there's 4 victims that he's already killed by this point. He then described how he started the life
Earth is different from what we can imagine.
killing people and popping pills at 15, claiming this turned him into a villain, which appeared to be something he was truly proud to. Drench Season's verse, Noah, aka the Joker, would step in, delivering equally lyrics where he wraps one hand on enough to his victims, implying that he had already killed over 5 people at this point. He would aim disses towards specific rivals, like somebody he called Scoom, with some fans suggesting that this was another name for fame. Another guy called Quaddy, real name Quadir Diaz, who was found dead in a creek, together with his friend, under mysterious circumstances in April 2024. This song was disrespectful, and this is really where Noah painted an even bigger target on his back. Not only was he killing his enemies in the street, now he was proud rapping about it. Despite hiding behind the menacing mask, those in the streets knew exactly who was responsible for these murders, and they wanted revenge too. And unfortunately for Noah, just as he had begun his career using his menacing mask and moniker as the Joker, there would be other ruthless masked shooters looking for him in the streets, with little care for who got in the way or witnessed the revenge that they were about to take upon him.
For joining us.
Good morning, Philadelphia. This just in. Police are still searching for the suspects in multiple murders that have taken place over the past week. People are being asked to stay vigilant and stay safe.
In the streets, there are no heroes or reactions. The gang is sadly a dead end, and no matter who you are, no matter how many people you've killed, it only takes the squeeze. Noah Scurry, aka the Philly Joker, had become a formidable force in the Philly streets in just a matter of months. The pain that he felt from losing so many of his teenage friends to the gun was very easy by all the killings he himself had done. Perhaps he was too young and naive to think that he would suffer the same consequences too, but the reality was that those people that he had hurt, just like he had been hurt himself, wanted their own revenge, and hiding behind his mask, his family, or his facade as a straight-A student athlete would not be enough to save his life. And in the end, like those friends or enemies of his that lost their lives so young, his life too would be cut short in the most poetically tragic way. On the 14th of January 2025, Noah Scurry would wake up early to head to the Bells High School, exiting his family's located on Aurora Street near Roosevelt Boulevard around 7:15 a.m. But as Noah stepped outside to the back alley of his family's row home, ready to get into a car with his mother, who was supposed to drive him to school, unknowns ready and waiting for him, they would immediately jump out of Jeep SUV, begin shooting Noah, hitting him numerous times, fleeing the scene in their car. And often too often these days, someone would immediately begin filming the aftermath, showing Noah's mother, distraught, hugging her son's lifeless body, covered in blood and bullet holes. After the police medic to the scene, and Noah was taken to the Einstein Medical Center, where he was unfortunately pronounced dead only minutes later, having suffered several gunshot wounds to his chest and abdomen. The local jump on the story almost immediately, highlighting Noah's status as a star athlete and an exceptional student. This one completely unaware of the murderous alter ego.
A teenager was shot and killed steps from his home. This is the 5000 block of Aurora Street. The 18-year-old was on his way to school. The teenager was mother at the time. And Kelly, what else?
School officials are identifying the 17-year-old tonight as Noah Scurry. He's described here at the high school as a great student and athlete. Family understandably was not ready to talk today. Police say they do believe he was targeted, but have not said why. Sophomore Muhammad Al-Faqi leaves a solemn day of school at Samuel Fells High School. All after-school activities canceled today, and men's basketball games peak due to the killing of a teammate and seen identified by police and officials as 17-year-old Noah Scurry. Police say it all happened in an alleyway behind Roar Street, just off Roosevelt Boulevard, around 7 this morning. At least 20 shots fired in what they believe was a target. There was a backpack left in the middle of the crime scene, surrounded by shell casings and areas of nearby parked cars blown out. A letter sent home to parents from the school principal said Scurry scored the highest among the Fells community on the SAT tests.
The student killed was exceptional. No problems from him whatsoever, according to the principal and other staff members. As you might imagine, they are distraught.
The following day, the story would receive a major update as the police would recover the assailant's gate car, and the news would also show security camera footage of the murder scene. The police would also give out information that Noah had indeed been shot before his murder during the May 2023 incident that took the life of an older man.
Breaking right now, chilling video obtained by CBS in Philadelphia showing the exact moment a gunman ambushes a local teenager on his way to school right in front of his friend's mother.
Good afternoon, Siapa. Police are closer into figuring out who was responsible. They say they believe they found the vehicle that connected to the shooting. Police say the 17-year-old Fells High School senior was shot multiple times as he was getting a car on his way to school. Investigators say he was rushed to Albert Einstein Medical Center, where he later died. The video shows a Jeep Grand Cherokee take off from the alley behind the teen's home on Roar Street early Tuesday morning, right after the shooting. Police say they located the Jeep that matched the description of the car they were looking for in Northeast Philadelphia. Chopper captured it in a police lot. And now CBS News Philadelphia has learned that Scurry has been shot before. Sources tell us back in May of 2023, he was one of 3 shot on Mulberry Street in Frankfurt. A 66-year-old was killed. That crime is unsolved.
Noah's murder seemed completely impossible to most. After all, if star athletes and students like Noah can become the victims of gun violence, then nobody is safe. But meanwhile, the undefeated online detectives were uncovering the dark side of Noah's past. First, posts connecting him to the Joker OTV alias would appear on the day of his murder. Some of these would even show old clips of Noah beating up his enemies. And soon, the mainstream media too would be forced to change the narrative, backtracking on the angle they'd taken in earlier reporting to cover this new, shocking twist in the story.
New tonight, law enforcement has confirmed there was a rap video on social media the day before 17-year-old Noah Scurry was shot to death behind his home in front of his mother, who was getting ready to take him to Samuel Samuel High School. A screen video shows a man in a Joker mask, at times appearing to hold a gun. Sources tell Fox 29 they believe that to be Scurry. In the video, he dances along other individuals who are also holding and showing off guns throughout it.
The storyline would completely change once the duality of Noah's life was exposed as both a star athlete who at school was also being a busty, mask-wearing drill rapper and somebody who had been killed less than 24 hours after officially dropping his first diss song towards his ops. All of this made the story go viral, with seemingly every news outlet and YouTuber suddenly covering the story. Most notably, Philly-based YouTuber Confidential would post an incredibly detailed and well-researched breakdown about Noah's life and death only 5 days after his murder. The video would interestingly point out how the news got the narrative completely wrong about Noah when they initially reported on him in the context of his excellent academic record.
Friends and classmates were devastated by the sudden and senseless loss. A GoFundMe campaign launched by his cousin seeks to help cover funeral expenses. In her heartfelt message, she described Noah as a bright, loving young man with a heart of kindness. Noah, only 17 years old, had such a caring and loving heart. He would do anything for his family, but most of all for his siblings. Tributes and condolences across social media where friends expressed their grief and shared memories of the team. Speechless, I love you, one friend posted along.
DraftKings Casino app is the place for jackpots. All my games. Now, please win big.
Alongside photos, no. If people like myself and THF Philly weren't around, this would have been the end of the story. By the day of Noah's death, as is all too clear by now, 17-year-old star student executed in front of their moms for no reason. There's always a story behind it that the news is reluctant to give for political or social reasons. The news from the Philadelphia Inquirer or NBC, then the story is almost always to social media. Traditional mainstream media is forced to double back the next day, say, hey, there's a little more to the story here. 30 years ago, this would have never happened. The story would have been left at that. There was no Instagram to correct the news or YouTube for people to make a story with a little more context.
At this point, the story would get even crazier as YouTubers and other online sleuths had begun to tie real-life murder cases to Noah, most notably Fat Bang's murder, which made a lot of sense given how Noah had dissed him in his music, but also Gilly the King's son, YNG Cheese. This rumor being sparked particularly by Gilly alleged nephew, who had posted a childhood picture of Cheese not long after Noah's murder, saying that Cheese could finally rest in peace now that his killer was also dead. Shockingly, this rumor would seemingly be later on when Gilly himself would admit that this was who killed his son in an interview where Shannon Sharpe completely brought up the tragedy of this supposed model student's sudden murder. Gilly would later also reveal that the police had actually told him Noah's story had been one of the in Cheese's murder investigation all along.
I just read about this 17-year-old basketball player, straight A student. And my own Gilly used to be like the athlete. They got protected. Right. Nobody tell he good now. He gonna be what we, they're gonna be talking about block. He from the block. He got out. They protected us. What happened?
That's who killed my son.
The 17?
17?
Yes.
That's who killed my son.
Really?
It wasn't for my son. Them blocks is beefing. They going through it. My son just so happened to pull up out there. They come to shoot the block. My son from that block, he don't. You feel? He just so happened in the wrong place at the wrong time. These kids is influenced by all the wrong things.
Right.
To that don't matter. To that once upon a time when I was growing up, I was influenced by. When I was young, we glamorized the person that was getting money. Hustler. That's why rap names was like Gotti. Rap games. There was always somebody that was getting some money. Now, it won't be about no money or nothing. They make your Instagram post.
Right.
You said you was gonna slide, you ain't slide yet. Now I slid. Look, you see. Now sit. Like, oh, dog, you serious? So, it don't make no sense.
Meanwhile, the youth from Rice was celebrating Noah's death, with the first diss songs getting posted on social media only a few days after his murder, like a song from a rapper called Big 9 Millie, who had posted a snippet new song where he rapped how Noah's killer did what Batman couldn't, before saying how Noah had become the topic of conversation with his Joker antics, but the joke was now over. Noah's friends, who were rappers on the other hand, were also quick to use the huge media attention around him to their advantage. The rapper Drench Season, who would drop a song which would receive a mixed reception, as the song didn't actually have a single mention about Noah and was seemingly only named after the Joker to get attention online. But people close to Noah would also seemingly begin to drop all the songs that he had made before he died, with his catalogue growing rappers close to him like Qua 4 and Rel Sosa, with most of these being dark diss songs, like his only officially released song Swing My Door, with Noah aiming towards rival gangs like Fast Break, and specific ops like Mally, aka Jamal Tucker, who allegedly snitched on his friend. But there would also be more emotional songs, like the song known as Fours Up, or Patience, featuring Qua 4, which gives a rare glimpse into Noah's more introspective side, giving at least some idea to the listener on what could have possibly driven a good kid like Noah to commit some of the most horrible acts that he had been accused of. All of this possibly driven a good kid like Noah to commit some horrible acts that he had been accused of. All of this seen friends killed by their own cousins, and how of the most horrible acts that he had been. All this despite seemingly coming from a really good background, likely having a bright future ahead of him. He would rap how he has seen his friends killed by their own cousins, and how he's been betrayed by so many people, before saying how many of his friends are in jail, and how his cries for help have been ignored, and how he's been in numerous shootouts with his ops, and how people keep telling him that he's going to be the ticket out of the struggle, but something is telling him that he's going to die before he can get out. It's that at least on some level that the life that he was living was going to end up bad for him, and that if he stuck with positive things in life like ball and education, he had a chance of making it big. But clearly he was so consumed by the losses of so many friends, just like his father had pointed out on Facebook. Ultimately, any kind of vision for a positive future just wasn't enough for Noah to let go of the losses that he'd suffered in the streets. Another matter is of course the enormous influence of music culture. This is a somewhat controversial topic, and many academics, journalists and other pundits like to point out how music cannot possibly influence youth to commit violence, even when these same people have often based entire theories and even careers on the claim that mainstream media much controls our every thoughts and actions. Meanwhile, people within culture are often the first to admit just how powerful drill music is normalizing violence and influencing the youth. It's hardly a problem, somebody using the violent raw energy of drill music to get a set in a gym, but it's another story when that same music is influencing a youngster growing up in an actual war zone, and where the lyrics end up spreading meaning to real life trauma. With this even providing a way out of the struggle if gangsters can turn to artists use that have been through the same lot of cases. Drill music has become the marching music to hype up those listening to continue waging the war in the name of their dead friends. Now, it's certainly not the music's fault, but drill music is an unfortunate symptom of a very dark demonic energy within gang wars of the impoverished hoods of the inner cities. But to bring the story full circle, it seems like the best influences in the city are the likes of Gilly and Wallow, who have both spoken on the need to forgive and move past the grief of losing friends and family to the streets.
Tell me this.
In order to keep thriving positively and providing for their families and communities. Wallow has spoken extensively on the decision to forgive his brother's killer so that he could continue to support his family and provide positive example to the community whilst keeping hold of his freedom.
TED Talk. I forgave my brother. That's my TED Talk. My TED Talk is about, see what happened was my brother killed it destroyed me. That was my hero, that was my king. So much rage inside of me that when I call home, so many dudes, oh, we going, nobody really knew it wasn't about no. And I said, listen. I had to get with myself, and I had to see myself, my responsibilities as a man right now. I gotta take care of them babies. And then I said, I can't carry around this hatred and this anger. I won't be able to grow. I won't be able to, because I'm I had this big package inside me, no space to involve, and I ain't gonna have no space to be receptive to new things and new ideas once I leave prison. And I had to wipe my hands. It took some time, but whoever he is, wherever he at, I don't want nobody to kill him. He can bring my brother back. I hope that empowered him to change, that he got away with it, that he did whatever. I know I convinced my that took some life in the middle of the night. And I'm understanding of the reality of the game we signed up in the footprint that was in the street code contract that we signed. I understand that.
In the midst of this brutal tragedy, we have to tip our hat to the likes of Gilly and Wallow, because in the modern day drill culture, so many of the views and attention goes to the most evil of people, the killers, the gangsters, the real ones, doing dirt in the streets, standing on business and rapping about it. It's understandably alluring to feed into that eye for an eye energy that seeks street justice, but the truth is, that mindset is a dead end. It might sound good in songs over a booming demonic beat, but when it stops and a body laying dead, cold on the pavement, in silence, there's nothing cool about it. So the story of Noah Scurry should serve as a warning and a lesson to the youth of today's gang culture. There really is no future in perpetuating the cycle of death and destruction. You hear drill music, killing only leads to more killing, and the only thing in the hood to stop that cycle of violence is forgiveness and an appreciation of the bigger picture. Life is much more precious than drill would have you believe, and the world is much bigger than the blocks where gunfire and the scream of grieving families end positive away from this and devastating story. And finally, rest in to all of those mentioned in this story who lost their life before they even truly begun.